Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good whatever time it is from wherever you're watching us from. Welcome to Tony's Pod, where we tell Kenya's story as it is. I'm your host, Anthony Mutugi, and today is on Tuesday, the 3rd of June, 2025. From politics to society, here we speak the truth, we unpack the headlines, and give voice to the people behind the stories. Any events or occurrences that are spoken about in this episode are subject to that date. We are going to look at some of the stories that I've prepared for you, and it's been quite it's been a long weekend. We just after the Madaraka Day celebrations that were recently held in Omabe. A lot to speak about, a lot has been happening. And Kenya is just a drama series that you can't just take a breath. You always have to catch up, and you're always playing catch up. One of the interesting stories that I came across over the weekend, well, of course, it's not interesting to many when you speak about matters gambling, but I personally take it as a social issue that most people don't want to speak about, and that your local media station will not want to highlight each and every other time. Well, the government is looking forward to adding some laws to taming the gambling addiction in Kenya. That was according to the Sunday Nation on June 1st. And they say that some of the proposals that the betting, I think they are the licensed guys that they are looking forward to proposing include one, ensuring that every person can only have a maximum of one bet per day. Ukiwekelea bet on this one site, ni hivyo umemaliza. If it's Man U versus Arsenal, you will not bet against Chelsea. So I'm not definite whether that will apply to someone who's choosing a multi-bet. Is it one slip per day or just one bet per day? I'm not definite about that. But whatever the case, I think this is a win against the gambling addiction. If that law is passed, then we expect to see a high improvement. We don't expect to see people losing school fees because of gambling addiction. Watu wanauza ploti, anagambo ploti yote. We hope that such instances will start going down. There will also be a cooling period. I think they talked about one bet per day maximum. I'm not definite how the betting companies will take that, because we know now their source of income is being directly touched. Wanaguza mlima ya betting companies. And apart from the betting companies, remember sometime last week I had spoken about one senior person in parliament, actually in the Senate, where they have been collecting taxes on behalf of betting companies for KRA. So it's an intricate web where many people are benefiting, and such a law would mean that the income that is coming out of betting, whether in taxes, whether in terms of profits, will be going down. So we are yet to see what is going to happen. But what are they looking at? They are looking at the same kind of laws that are in the UK. In 2005, there was the Gambling Act of 2005 that was passed in the UK. So it's used in England. It's used in Britain. Okay, the Great Britain, UK, Scotland, Wales. I believe that's where the laws apply the most. And apart from that, there was also a talk about celebrities being banned from having any endorsements with betting companies. I don't know what will happen to the people who currently have contracts with the betting companies. If their association is cancelled, then what happens? I'm expecting to see, I don't know, will they be requested if maybe you had a 1-year contract to promote a betting company and 2 months down the line this has happened? What is the legal way? Because I'm definitely hajalipo pesa yote. Maybe they had a deposit, but we hope that business-wise, content creators don't lose. But for me, it's a win. Anyway, we can look at the laws that govern gambling, because we might say that everyone has a choice to make. You can choose whether to place a bet or not. But gambling is an addiction like any other drug. But now the worst thing about gambling is that if it's a drunk person, you'll always see, ule ni Anton ametingika. Anto has a problem with alcohol. But unlike any other addiction where you can tell this person has been drinking, this person has a problem with smoking, this person has a problem with mirror, whatever drug that they are taking. When it comes to gambling, you can never tell. You'll just see someone is always in a financial mess, anakopa hapa pale. You can never know whether someone is borrowing money because they are just going through a hard time financially, or it's because they have a gambling problem. And then, since no one can tell what you are going through, it's only depression after depression after depression. You're losing and you're feeling bad about it. But no one can tell what you're actually going through. And the worst part is that there is no initiative, and I would confidently say that compared to other countries, I don't feel that betting companies have put measures to ensure that they protect their customers against this addiction. If you look at betting sites in the UK, they always have what we call a self-exclusion program. Self-exclusion ile, umeona mwindi amekukula sana. Amekukula left, right and center, and you are sure if you place another bet, you might not go to work next week. So what do? You say, Maze, I want to self-exclude for myself, at least for 1 month or at least for 6 months. So when you put your details there, your profile is not allowed to place a bet, or your account, you cannot place your bet at all. That is what they do. Well, how many people accept to lose? That you are losing, of course. There's always that dopamine that if I've won, I will win again. And if I've lost, there's always that mentality that I will place a bet, hoping to recover the money that I lost in the previous bet. And in that way, you continue even losing further and further and further. So these laws that we are looking at, what are they supposed to, what is their main aim? First, is to prevent gambling from being associated, from being a source of crime or disorder, or being associated with crime or disorder, or being used to support crime. Let's look at it from two perspectives. Money, proceeds of gambling can be used in money laundering. You can easily say that you got money from wherever you got it from and claim it's proceeds of gambling, maybe through a casino, such kind of places, because they need fast moving places where money is moving, changing hands fast. So a gambling site would be a perfect spot for that, or even a casino. Actually, if you've watched Ozark, you would understand, you will see why there was need for the money launderers to have a casino, because it would help them launder money a bit faster. The other part is from the loser, the person who is betting. Apart from money laundering, what about the person who is gambling? This person who is addicted to gambling, they might end up stealing from their wife's purse, from their husband's wallet. They might end touching their kids' school fees, selling a car, or even stealing. And so, the reason that the motive for committing that crime is gambling. Number two, there is also the fact that the government would like to ensure that gambling is conducted in a fair and open way. And apart from being fair and open, it protects children and also the vulnerable from being exploited by gambling. I feel addiction is a way that people are exploited. We are looking at raising the minimum age for betting from 18 to 24. Well, people are saying that 18, as long as you're above 18, you can ID. But between 18 to 24 is where the problem is, because these people feel like gambling could be a source of income. Most are students, and they are honestly trying to get an extra coin, and they don't know where to get this extra coin from. I remember when I was a student at that time, I used to gamble, hoping to get more money. But the little that you have, pia yenyewe inapotea. I thank God mine didn't get to addiction because I don't like losing. My Kikuyu genes could not allow me to continue losing money. So when I felt like I'm losing, I was able to just get out of this web. But the companies are really against this because they are saying that it should be 18 and above. But I feel if the age limit was raised to 24, it would be much better. And apart from that, betting companies are being asked to contribute to a kitty that the government uses to help those who are fighting addiction, gambling addiction, because it says that the government are incurring the expenses alone while the betting companies benefit. This kitty is more like giving back to society, but betting companies are saying that they are not part of the problem that is being created by the gambling addiction. So there'll be a lot of vuta ni kuvute, and also the betting and gambling licensing board is looking at getting more systems that are able to look at the activities that these betting sites undertake. Because ukiwekelea bet kwa one betting company, assuming you've placed a bet on SportPesa, you should not be able to place another one on Betika. As long as umewekelea place moja, you must finish 24 hours ndio uwekelee ingine. So there's a lot of data that will be required, and we hope to see that it works out. The problem with Kenya is that we can make so many good laws, but if we are not following them, then we are just hitting a dead end. Let's wait and see how they move. Let's move on to the next story. And the next story is about Natembea and the Tawe movement that is creating in the Western region. Natembea ameamua atembei peke yake, anatembea na Waluya. And they are slowly leaving Madividi and Manweta. And one can feel that there's a nexus. There's a change in the ground. Kama wanasikizanga ground. The ground is really shifting, especially in Luya land. I would like to see a time, I'm not so much into tribal politics. But I would like to see a time when Luya have all their votes enclosed in one basket and see how it goes. There was the Kibaki time, but of course hiyo time hakukuwa na functions mingi. It was clear that Kibaki was a real wave. This new wave that Natembe is creating, how far can it go? And so far, the government is helping him even popularize himself further. He anticipated the arrests that was staged a few weeks ago, and despite the arrests, he appeared like he was more triumph after the arrest. And as he continues to popularize the movement and try to gain sympathy from the Western leaders, when he came to Nairobi for the court hearing, and was released on bail, he took a flight to Kisumu. Then from Kisumu, he toured, or from Kisumu, he made stops, different towns in Kakamega, and made his grand entry into Kitale. He's speaking to the people, and is really attracting a lot of Luyas. And there are two sides of the coin. For one, there are people who like Natembea because he's questioning the status quo of the current political leadership of the Luya region, that is Madividi and Weta. Unajua inasemekananga hawa wawili wakishiba hawasumbuangi. He's questioning what are they really doing for the people. So a lot of lawyers feel that they resonate that yes, these people are in power, but we don't see, in as much as they've been in power, how have they impacted our lives. Then there are other people who are angry with the government of the day. And these people who are angry with the government of the day, they will naturally tend to sympathize with anyone who is against the government. So as they sympathize with anyone who is against the government and they are in the Luhya region, they will feel that Natembea's style of politics argues well with them. And it's giving Natembea some more mileage. I really hope to see how Natembea is able to galvanize this political wave and support that he's creating to help us kick Kasongo out of State House come 2027. I really hope it would be a nice wave. The fact that he's under, who is this guy? I'm forgetting this guy. Wamalwa. He's under Wamalwa's party. I'm looking forward to seeing the impact that he can bring and the kind of votes that he can bring, because he looks like a proper mobilizer. He's someone who can speak to the people's hearts. It's not like Wamalwa does not. Wamalwa is an eloquent speaker, especially in the Queen's language. But I feel when it comes to vote hunting requires a different kind of man, and that's where we are seeing the kind of destruction that Rigiji is doing on the Kenya Kwanza, both home and away, while he is promoting his party and throwing attacks at the government. He does a lot of damage, because when it comes to political rallies and charging up emotions, Gachagua is way ahead of his game. And at the moment in Kenya, I don't think there's any other politician who can level up what Gachagua is delivering. We've seen Raila in the past, we've seen Raila's energy in the past, we've seen Ruto in the past, we've seen Uhuru. But Gachagua is a different animal. Natembeya is also doing the same with the Luhyas. We really hope to get these votes for us, and that they are going to help us make a better Kenya. He's someone I'm really looking forward to seeing how he handles, especially opposition politics, given the fact that alikuwa askari, so he understands the government from the inside. Let's see how it goes, and hopefully the knowledge that these kind of men have, likes of Rigijis, Kalonzo, Natembeya, can help in ensuring that come 2027, voting is free and fair, na hakuna kuibiwa. We don't want that state machinery. And by the way, who in Kenya Kwanza government would be able to match up with Natembeya when it comes to looking at the Luhya vote? Which MP? Niambie mmoja. I'm waiting. Who can match Natembeya's energy in Luhya land or Kenya Kwanza? Tell me one. I'll be waiting. But even before we think of these kind of energies, there's also been another interesting story about how politicians are using cosmetic dermatology to improve their looks. They want to look better so that come 2027, you get votes. I mean, who does not know that looks can be deceiving, but before they deceive, they can get you something. A dimple or two can help you go to power. For me, I would also like to get cosmetic dermatology. Sijua analipisha dimples pesa ngapi. Niko na dimple moja, nataka ingine. Juu nakuwa na dimple side moja. So I feel if I get a second dimple, I might drink them. And if I drink them, then maybe I might get into political power. Well, Avin Hospital in Yaya Center has said that wamekuwa kipokea quite a number of visits from the political class. They don't want to be named, but we usually see them all of a sudden. Someone has cut weight and you're wondering how did it happen. But this is the political scene, and everything is possible when it comes to cosmetic dermatology. I mean, most of these politicians, if you look at them and they're looking at their inspiration, they look at Macron and Macron's wife, Brigitte. There are claims that she was actually a man, and due to cosmetic dermatology, she's now a lady, and she's the first lady, like the first male, female. Is it the first lady or the first male or the first male, female or the first transgender? We are not sure. There have been those allegations. You need to watch out that story, that maybe the first lady of France could actually be a man. Funny. I've been following that story and it seems like kuna kaukweli mahali. So as politicians have good examples everywhere, from Brigitte Macron. And how do looks influence us as voters? Are you going to vote for someone because of how they look or their values? I would rather have an ugly president who is working. Actually, the best working, the president who did the most working was the one who had the, how would I call it? Sura personal. How would you say sura personal in English? The least good looking face. Is that what we call sura ya kazi? Kama sura yako inakaa mbaya, inaweza kuwa hiyo ndio sura ya kazi. But we need someone at least with sura ya kazi, not dimples. We need to get leaders who are feeling ready to work and are able to work for the people. Not about looks, not about people going to cut weight, putting themselves in their correct weight, or adding some makeups here and there, dimples here and there. We are past that. We are looking at values now, and hope that will be the case in 2027. The Finance Bill 2025 is coming, and it's coming with goodies for KRA and bad news for you. What's the goodies for KRA? A 600 million budget has been approved by Parliament. And what's this budget for? This budget is to allow KRA to review your transactions, both in the bank and on M-Pesa. They will not need a court order to access your financial information, whether on M-Pesa, from Safaricom, or from your favorite banker. They are looking at what is the aim of this viewing of transactions. They are looking at boosting tax collection, catching tax evaders. So what's the catch? Income that is gained from, or the amount of money that they get from revenue that is collected from tax could grow even further. However, punda amechoka. I feel we are already paying too much tax. Who is ready to continue paying such high taxes, and what will be the other measures towards it? There was a scare sometime last year when they had said, oh, they will be reviewing, and then traders were like, we don't want to get money on till, usitume pesa kwa till. And at that time, during that confusion, when traders were saying hawataki pesa kwa till because they were fearing of the taxes, in as much as this thing didn't get to happen last year, it scares me because M-Pesa is one of the greatest advantages that Kenya has over its neighbors. The fact that we use M-Pesa to transact, it has given us a cashless economy, and it has helped us grow our e-commerce. Right now, you can be on TikTok. As you're scrolling, uingia kwa live ya mtu anauza rubber shoes. And as they are selling the rubber shoes, you feel this shoe is interesting. And as you're in Coast, you order a rubber shoe that comes all the way from Nairobi to Mombasa. And you just need to pay a delivery fee. Or a cologne. Actually, I get all my colognes from Mombasa. Kuna mwarabu fulani hapo, I just go and look at what he has on offer and I order. I send on M-Pesa. This guy, sends the perfume direct to me in Nairobi at a very cheap cost. And those are the kind of businesses that have been enabled by M-Pesa, empowered by M-Pesa, where you can transact without, you can trade from virtually anywhere within Kenya because of M-Pesa. You can build, unatuma pesa kwa urahisi. But now when M-Pesa, when these people, when this guy who is selling me perfume and it's like, I'm not accepting payments from M-Pesa anymore. Why? Mambo na taxation. Taxation yatupeleka juu vile, sisi hatujui vile tutafanya. What will I do? Does it mean that now I will have to be going at random perfume shops, trying to select perfumes? Do I even have that time? I'm not definite whether I do have that time. I would rather scroll on, try and get a few reviews on what kind of perfume it is, what notes it has, then choose. Because sometimes you're pressed for time and you don't have time to go hovering maybe the whole weekend searching for a perfume, because your economy or your work does not give you that luxury of time. So KRA is looking to boost their tax collection. But for me, I'm seeing an even bigger loss, because I'm not definite whether traders will want to even pay further taxes from what they are paying right now. So digital businesses stand to lose. So you try to milk the cow further, but as you're trying to milk the cow, you're actually hurting it. You are killing it slowly. So the digital business will stand to lose. And once we go back from cashless transactions to cash, then we are going to lose a lot as an economy. Because if we go back to banking under the mattress, we are looking at corruption increasing, because illicit financial activities thrive on cash. Government will lose money because with cash, it's easier to evade tax. The gains that we've made in financial inclusion will be taken back. We've been so far with M-Pesa, we are so far ahead of the game that even the likes of MasterCard, Visa should come and take notes from us, because while they use a card as we use phones, and the convenience and efficiency is not there anymore. Financial inclusion that we expect, where because people are using this money on M-Pesa, then there's like a digital platform that provides security for money. Once people start using cash, utaona crime rate imepanda, because they can tell, I will get cash here, I will get cash here. There's a way cash speaks. As opposed to money on M-Pesa, it's a little bit difficult. One will be required to be a thief who is a bit smarter for them to steal for you from M-Pesa, whether through violence or they just use fraud, whichever means that they use. Then our economic growth has been boosted by the fact that we use M-Pesa and all these other cashless methods of circulating money. But now if we are going to use cash, where are the fixed accounts? Money market funds zitaenda wapi? Because people will remove their money huko. And now it's cash. The more you have cash, it is losing value. You can't fix your money. So there will be no investment of cash, buying of stocks, utaona zime reduced, because these things have started improving after there was a cashless economy. Stocks exchange used to be there, but due to M-Pesa, more people can continue investing in stocks, they can continue investing in bills and bonds. These things were always there. But before M-Pesa, they were not as common. Right now, there are popular decisions that someone can make a healthy lose amount of money on M-Pesa. Mbona ikae hapo, si ni lock kwa M-Shwari. That money on M-Shwari itapotea. and comes under the mattress. Just because someone is saying that Zaka is taxing me too much. So rather than try to increase the taxes, try to check on who is evading the taxes, why can't we try to first widen the tax base? I feel there are so many people who do not pay taxes who should be enabled to pay taxes. Let's create the jobs for the people who are not paying taxes. Let's put them in the tax bracket. Then we can talk about we can talk now about increasing the tax base. But even as we increase our taxes, there comes a problem. The government is saying that they would like to delist miraa as a cash crop. Miraa is not a cash crop. Cash crop ya miraa ilikuwa ni cash crop ya Nyandarua ni mawaru. Cash crop ya Embu ni miraa. Embu County produces 36,000 kilos of mogoka on a daily basis. These 36 tons of mogoka generate a revenue of about 10.8 million a day. And that money helps to boost the economy of the Embu area. A kilo of miraa ranges between 300 to 1,000 bob, depending on the season. 300 shillings to 1,000 bob. That's way ahead of tea or coffee. So, watu wa Embu, tukate majani chai na tukate kahawa. Tupande miraa. Tupande mogoka. Because it makes business sense, doesn't it? But now, with the effects that miraa and mogoka has been seen to be having, most people are celebrating, especially in the coast area where they had begun saying that they would like to ban mogoka. I personally would not want mogoka to be banned because, yes, mogoka is a low-cost drug, but I feel, especially these people in the coast, they are wanatubeba ufala because these leaders in the coast, I feel the drugs in Mombasa are worse than mogoka. There are very many bad drugs zenye zinapitia hapo Mombasa that you people don't want to talk about. And they have destroyed your families even more than the mogoka. Mogoka might be seen to be taking up a lot of time. It's not like I'm supporting it. I'm not supporting any drug abuse. But I feel that you're putting the energy at the wrong place. Mogoka is just a drug that is used by low-income earners. And while it has its effects, there are far much worse drugs in the coast that you people need to tackle before you even think about tackling mogoka or miraa. As we continue to delve on the issue of drugs and drug abuse, our very able health cabinet secretary, Adan Duale, right now he understands quite a lot about our health because they were able to seize 5.5 tons of illicit product at the Eldoret airport. These illicit products were actually tobacco products ranging from shisha, flavored cigarettes, etc. And this sparked to him declaring a 21-day notice of cancelling of the licenses. He banned these companies that are selling tobacco products for 21 days. They will have to reapply for other licenses. Well, in as much as there was product that was seized and he says that it was harmful and Kenya is not a dumping site, everyone has their choice of life, but they are talking about the quality of products. I want to trust the government, but at the same time, trust is a currency that I feel this government lost kitambo. I'm looking at it and wondering, could there be someone who was told, stay ahead of the game as we do this? We are trying to look at the whole tobacco value chain. And the tobacco value chain is a quite difficult one because you cannot just come na uanze kuuza tobacco It's not easy. It's a value chain that has its own cartels. Wanajijua, you can't just come and start distributing tobacco. The moment you are distributing cigarettes na kuna distributor wa hiyo area, mtapatana na yeye, mtaelewana. Why are you? They have like territories kama zile za drugs and cartels. Like from here to here ni wewe, from here to here I'm the one doing this. And that's how they live. That's how they coexist. I would like to see where this battle goes, because we have seen that even companies are losing. Mastermind, they had to close down. And I really hope we can battle against tobacco use, because sijaelewa haya tobacco ni gani. I don't understand it at all. I've smoked before, yes, but sijaielewa ni nini ubamba watu na fegi. Kabisa sijaielewa. Shisha the same. There's this other thing that they used to call velo. Wanaeka huku. During our time, I remember back in high school, there was something called kuber. I'm not definite whether you met kuber. Kuber was imported from India. It was some kind, like ni kama ka paste. Mtu alikuwa anaonja anaeka under the lip. In high school, you'd see some of my friends do it. I tasted it once. Ilikuwa inaonja vibaya, and I was definite I'm not going to taste this thing again. And that thing ilikuwa inachoma mtu lips, especially on the inside mahali wanawekelea. You'd find that someone has a canker sore, and it's all because of taking this kuber. And you would wonder, if this thing is giving you vidonda kwa mdomo, it's giving you sores, why would you continue taking it? It's an issue about addiction. I really hope that there is no one gaining from a business point of view from this 21-day ban that has been made. And we really want to believe that the government is protecting people from illegal sisa, and cigarettes. Let's see how it goes. Kenya is a movie series that you can never afford to miss an episode. We are waiting for this next episode that Duale holds for us in regards to this illicit tobacco. On Monday, the Madaraka Day, the Catholic Diocese of Eldoret was laying to rest the murdered priest, Father Alois Bet. And Father Alois Bet was killed while doing his pastoral work in Kerio Valley. I came to understand that he had only finished 6 months since he was there. And the Catholic Church, being one of the churches, I am a Catholic. We Catholics, let me speak on behalf of Catholics. No, it's not good to speak on behalf of the church, because I'm not. Yes, I am a member of the church. I can speak on behalf of the church. But one thing I borrowed from the Catholic Church, let me not speak on behalf of the church, but one thing I borrowed from the Catholic Church is that before you come to preach to a person, before you tell someone about Jesus, you must first ensure that their life is better. If they were sick, provide health care to them. If they were hungry, provide food to them. If they were illiterate, try to provide some form of education into them. And then once they are better, once they are in a better position, then you can now talk about Jesus. You can now come to tell them, oh, there was someone who saved you long ago, he died for your sins. Lakini sio ile wakati dhaguru kimemgonga hapo ndio sasa unataka kumwambia ati juu ya Mungu. Huyu Mungu gani huyu? Mwenye anaruhusu bandits wakuja wachukue ng'ombe zangu, waibe ng'ombe zangu. So we start from the point of trying to ensure that we start from the point of trying to ensure that we take care of the well-being of this human being, of this person. And once you've taken care of their well-being, then you can now try to look at their values, Christianity, religious, spiritual well-being. You must first deal with the physical well-being, emotional well-being, so that you can get to the spiritual well-being. But now, even the Catholic Church that is known to move to the places where your regular church won't be found because they are trying to reach out to humanity. Kerio Valley is now becoming like a no-go zone. The Catholic Church is actually closing its missions in the Kerio Valley. More than 100 health workers have been withdrawn from the Kerio Valley after the Catholic Church closed its missionary operation of, listen to the church, this hospital inaitwaje? Chesongoch Mission Hospital. The reason? Insecurity. Also, kulikuwa na sisters walikuwa naitwa the Missionary Benedictine Sisters have also issued an official notice that they have decided to shut down their operations in Kerio Valley due to insecurity. And now, who stands to lose? It's the community. You've even chased away the church, the social well-being, the health. I'm definitely huko hata sijui kama kuna hospitali ya gava. And you can never compare a government hospital, can never be compared to a mission hospital. That one we can say. Ikuwe ni mission hospital ya Kadho, ni ya PCEA, ni ya AIC. I don't think there's a government hospital that you would come to any comparison when it comes to the level of service that mission hospitals offer. We really hope that the people, the community can really help in cracking down this issue. I'm saddened because when Ongondowere was killed, the government acted so swiftly and people are behind bars. What's the progress of a mere priest? Doesn't he require justice as the church continues to call on justice? Can we still find the same speed that the police worked with to nail down the murderers? And also the community. I feel these people are known in the community. Mbona wasitajwe? Mbona watu wanafichwa na wanaendelea kuua watu? And these bandits are only stealing from the same people. We really hope that something can really change in the Kerio Valley. It's 2025, but we are still living like we are in the 1800s. Still staying at Eldoret. All bad things are coming from Eldoret this week. I don't know why. The police finally had a crackdown on 2 illegal groups in Eldoret. One called the DNA, walikuwa wanajiita genge la DNA, and B13. DNA and B13 are a notorious gang of criminals that were around Eldoret town. Nasikia walikuwa na an operations base near Eldoret Shuttle offices. So the police went there together with these Mkopa guys and discovered that there were 28 phones, 2 HP laptops, 2 CPUs, 7 hard drives, and a Pandora box. I don't know, what was this Pandora box? A dongle and a JTAG device. They say that the equipment that these people had, these equipments that they had, easy hard drives, the JTAG device, the Pandora box, they were able to alter the IMEI number and also bypass the phone security features. Kama uko na simu ya Mkopa na imelokiwa, unaenda kwao, wanaifanyia ile kitu. Wakiiba simu na labda hiyo simu ilikuwa ya Mkopa, don't worry, ati imelokiwa na ilikuwa imeibiwa, we are going to change the IMEI. And that's how they used to do it. However, kwa sababu siku za mwizi ni one time, they were forensics still got to get at them, and now they are in court yet waiting for arraignment. We really hope this will help the situation with hizi mawizi tunaona, especially za simu. Hata wewe ukiiba simu ya Mkopa, simu yenyewe imekopwa na ndio collateral, ukishindwa kulipa unarudisha. Alafu sasa Mkopa akujie, sio utachukua tu kwa mwenye alikuwa mwenye yako nayo hiyo time. So it's a loss for these people, but siku za mwizi ni one time. Kenya is doing well when it comes to the deals that involve fake gold. A Dutch Muzungu traveled all the way from Dubai to Nairobi, Kenya, from Nairobi, Kenya to Kisumu International Airport, then from Kisumu Airport to Kakamega, and then from Kakamega to head down to Ekolomani, because he was speaking to a guy on Facebook called Smith. Smith convinced this Muzungu that if you'd want cheap gold, come to Kakamega area called Ekolomani. And that's how the Mzungu ended up losing 3.6 million Kenyan shillings, according to what he told the DCI. So Muzungu, this Dutch Muzungu, was chatting with a Smith who was willing to sell him gold in Ekolomani. Na akamwambia, kama unataka dhahabu, toka Dubai, kuja Ekolomani. Smith, I think it was just a Smith Wafula, Ekolomani. And then the guy Googled, like, let me see where is Ekolomani. He Googled Ekolomani and came to realize that Ekolomani was just a Luya word to mean, it's not actually a Luya word. It's a gold mine. Muluya alisikia Mzungu amesema, take me to the gold mines. Akasikia Ekolomani. Akasema huko ni Ekolomani. So Mzungu went to the Ekolomani, akarudi bila mine. Akarudi bila money. Umegeta, alienda Ekolomani, akarudi bila money. Because on getting to Ekolomani, he was told to get into a car. It had 3 guys. These 3 guys wakaenda wakampeleka somewhere in an abandoned building. They overpowered him. And that's how the money moved. Akiulizwa, huyo mtu mulikuwa mnafanya nini? Tulikuwa tunaongea naye kwa Facebook. So he didn't have concrete evidence. And I think since the money was in cash, it was also a little bit difficult. Let's hope that they will get justice. But the fake gold issues still continue to, these stories still continue to hit the headlines. There has been a 5 billion fake gold case. And I feel like the foreigners are gullible. Gullible to mean, when someone is gullible, atasema umemtusi. A gullible person is not necessarily someone who is stupid. A gullible person is someone who is easily cheated. You can be wise, but you are gullible. You are easily cheated. You can be rich, but gullible. You can be poor, but you are gullible. And even the professors, and I think Rigiji claims that he was fooled. So it's fair to say that Rigiji was a gullible to be fooled by the tears of one man and even believed him that he was a man of God. He was an honest man. He was a gentleman. All those kind of things. He was just a gullible. So I feel that the foreigners who come and lose money over fake gold in Kenya, they are just gullible. They are greedy. And due to their gullibleness, if there's any word like that, and due to their greed, they end up losing money. Listen to this. There's a guy called Abdi Mohammed. Abdi Mohammed is just your regular businessman in Isli who lost 2 million because he lost this 2 million to 3 men because they had told him that they would sell him gold nuggets. Another one lost 70 million to 3 Congolese guys and 3 Kenyans who pretended that they would sell him 150 kgs of gold. Another one presented himself as an official of the Ministry of Mining and was having a deal to sell gold to a foreign company. He ended up getting a $200,000 deposit. $200,000 in kama pesa ngapi in Kenya? $200,000 in Kenya, that's 25.8 million. Make the 25 you guy a cool one. Alafu unatumanishia huyo mzee unamwekea chumvi. Salt worth 25 million shillings. Bwana. Hey, you people are eating nice outside here. I mean, who wouldn't want such a deal? But I feel the government needs to be at the center of this gold business. And why is it that Kenya ni sisi tuko na hizi underhand gold? Are we a leading producer of gold? Hii gold yote inatoka wapi? Ama kuna kidogo inatoka Sudan, tunakawa siko sure. Let's wait and see. Kenya is a series and it's an episode. You can never afford to miss any of our episodes. Imagine this. You buy a land. You don't have a lot of money, a 40 by 80. You just want to settle your family, have a good life just in the outskirts of the city, just miles away from the city. It's every man's dream, every woman's dream to have a small place that you can call your home. Well, over 10 years down the line, you get to learn that this land that you bought actually didn't belong to the person who sold to you, because waliuziwa na community, but the land did not belong to a community. It actually belonged to a company, and now this company is under receivership to another company, and the company is looking forward to getting this land because the land was used as a collateral. Well, that is the story of Mavoko residents who live near Desta. These Mavoko residents are in between a rock and a hard place. Why? Because they are in a tussle with KCB, where KCB is trying to recover 20 billion from the East African Portland Cement Company that has already been put under receivership kwa sababu wameshindwa kulipa madeni. Now, one of the things walikuwa wameekelea wakichukua hii loan was this piece of land. Now, this piece of land is set to be used to recover the bank's money. Remember, from a bank's perspective, they must get back their depositors' money, because who wants to go withdraw money alafu waambiwe ati pesa yako tulipea East African Portland Cement na wao kuna land walitoa mahali. So it's a delicate balance between the two. For one, the bank has to get their money back, but at the same time, here are people who settled with their families there, wamezaa watoto hapo. These children don't know any other place to call home. These people were not actually brought here for a temporary settlement. They actually developed that land. Now they cannot develop that land any further. The reason behind, kuna kesi kotini, and kabla ya hiyo kesi kusikizwa na kuamuliwa, there's nothing that can be done. The ruling of this case is to be done on June 26th, and we are waiting to see what will happen. Well, let's look at a case of someone like the Nation waliongelea, a guy called Alfred Ondara. Alfred Ondara bought land in 2015. Since 2015, he's been there with his family. He's built there. Now there are issues about demolitions. And even when these issues started to rise and there was something to do with the demolitions, they were to pay KCB 200,000 regularization fee. Wajue wale wako hapo ni akina nani na wenye wako ni akina nani. Well, 200,000 for a Kenyan, especially your regular consumer. I'm not definite whether you have like a loose 200 Gs. Yes, you might have the money, but it's purpose to do something. And if you have it, if you also have it, I'm definite it's not to just come and tetea the land that you bought with your own money. Ati pesa ni mimi nilichukua loan kwa sako nikanunua. You don't have 200k that you cannot actually explain what it's for. The worst part is that they cannot develop the land until the ruling. And also there are people who are told that they cannot contribute to that money. Reason behind? Because mahali wao wamejenga, according to the plan, is a public area. It's not supposed to be a residential area. So wale wako in a residential area, they feel they might be on the safer side. Well, we don't know what will be the court ruling. Will it evict these people? Will it say that the land belonged to the East African Portland Cement, and so these people bought land wrongly? Well, I don't understand what is the correct procedure of buying land in Kenya. That's one of the questions that we really ask. For me, if I'm buying land, I would first go to the lawyer. I know how to do a search. And then nifanye search na niulize whether the search and the results are okay, because hata unaweza pata shamba imewekwa caution. I would really like to know from the likes of Alfred Ondara, before you were buying this land, did you do your due diligence? Did you involve a lawyer? Because for a transaction such as land, even a car sale right now, I would not buy a car and ensure that there is no witness in the form of, there's no legal witness such as a lawyer. We need to have lawyers on both sides, have an agreement in place, and also ensure that the due process is followed. Because sasa ungekuwa ni mimi ninaambiwa that I'm a squatter, from today I'm a squatter after having used my hand-earned money, whether it's a loan, whether it's money that you've saved your ass off, whatever it is, as long as ni pesa ulipata ukanunua land. You really worked for it, didn't you? But who should you go and look up to? Where did the mistake come in? Because mimi nikinunua land na niambiwa ati hapa niligongwa, I'm coming back to my lawyer. Wewe ndio uliniambia hii deal iko sawa. I was with you, you verified everything. Was the due process followed? I wonder. For me, I feel, sorry to say, but na feel hapa kuna watu wata lose almost over 10 years. I'm not judging, but I feel that this case would go KCB ways. Maybe they find an out-of-court settlement. How can we work around this? But mwananchi ndiye anaumia. The likes of Alfred Ondara ndio anaumia. I really like to get to know their side of the story. How did they get to get the land? Did they follow the correct procedure of land purchase? And even as we talk about land purchase, the battle between should you buy a car first or land will not cease, because the advocates of buying a car first before land now feel that they have an advantage. Ambiwa sasa ukihamishwa siwame na shamba yako, siwame na gari na nyumba yako, because ukiambiwa hii nyumba yako hatuitaki hapa, wewe toka nayo uende. You cannot move a house. If it was a car you would, but imagine pia ungekuwa gari umenunua wrongly, maybe hata hiyo ndio ungeshikwa haraka. But either way, for me, the debate of a car versus land, I will sleep in my car first. We'll think about land later. And even why buy land when you can buy space? If I can live on the 9th floor, nisinije kwa space, why do I need land? Anyway, let's move on to this next story where yesterday, Boniface Mwangi finally had the courage to stand in front of the world and shed light on the horrendous things that happened to him while he was in Tanzania after being, quote-unquote, abducted, not call it arrested, after he was abducted by the Tanzanian authorities, and the kind of despicable things that they did to him. It was so inhumane. We associate Tanzania with a certain kind of politeness, a certain kind of tenderness, that if a Tanzanian cop is coming to arrest you, atakwambia naomba nikukamate. Sio kama Kenya atakuja, mjinga hiyo bukuja hapa, hebu ingia hapa ndani, ashakupiga teke, ashakuingiza ndani ya Mariamu, ashakuingiza ndani ya Mariamu. But in Tanzania, since they are naturally soft-spoken, kind, we expected that even the confrontation between police and the people ikuange na kaheshima kidogo. Lakini bana, the things that Boniface said, you are making a man cry. And you know, Boniface is a man who was a very big pair, not a pair of shoes, but he has a big pair. Mipira, akona mipira kubwa, because huyo ni mtu amesomea approved school. Ni mtu alifinywa hata wakati ya Kibaki. Boniface Mwangi alisimama, sijui ilikuwa Jamhuri Day ama ni Madarakani, akasimama time ya Kibaki juu tusema injustice against the 2007 people, akachukuliwa juu, alibebwa hobela, akafinywa. A lot of torture has happened to Boniface Mwangi in Kenya. and he cannot relent. He's still on the same thing. He's still asking for the same thing: justice, justice, justice. And as he's trying to fight for this, it got international, and with Tanzania, things got worse. Yesterday, Boniface Mwangi and Agatha finally gathered the courage to stand in front of the world and tell them the horrendous events, the nightmares that happened in Tanzania. And I got wondering, because as I was watching that thing, I was actually unable to finish it completely, because I was shaken that some things, some humans can do such things. Well, last week, there were some things that were said, tulikuwa tunasikia, and if I had written an article on the same, I had read on the same. But when you get to hear it from the horse's mouth, then it becomes more difficult to understand to what points you become so inhumane. And Tanzania torture us. These people who are torturing Kina Boniface and Agatha. Why are you gay? I'm asking, why are you gay? You are gay. You must be gay. Mbona mna ushoga? Oh, naelewa shoga ni salamu kwa Tanzania. Mbona mna sodomy? Mbona mnafanya hivyo? This thing looks so despicable that even the person who is doing it, hata yeye anafaa ogope. Why would you do that? You know this guy is married, he has children. Hiyo si orientation yake. Na mkipata yule mwenye ni LGBTQ, mkipata LGBTQ mtafanya nini? You might do worse. You're not good people. And what still, the thing that Boniface talked about, these people, wanamtesa or went upside down, they've done all the kind of sarcasm on his ass. But they are listening to gospel music, you guys. I even thought that they were listening to, in Kenya we have our Kardinali. I don't know, what's the most kind of gangster Kiswahili hip hop? Unajua Professor J, after Professor J sijui. Who is your most gangster hip hop artists? Msanii wa kibongo ambaye anarepi. Tuna expect walikuwa wanasikiza some gangster shit. But man, they were listening to gospel. How gangster are you to be torturing someone? Unasikiza, maybe hata alikuwa hapo anasikiza Christina Shusho. Bwana umenichunguza. Unasikiza bwana anakuchunguza bwana, lakini wewe kitu unachunguza ni matako ya mwanaume. Hey! If you are listening to gospel music, is it to mean that you are actually Christians? So that's why you listen to gospel as your favorite? Or you've just hardened your heart so hard that even if you hear Christian music, it does not remind you of any Christian values. You don't remember humility, you don't remember kindness, gentleness, love. Because mtu anafanya vitu kama hizo, even if you are working on instructions, then there's something very wrong with you. It's either God has hardened your heart so bad, you are like Pharaoh, that only plagues would help for a change to happen, especially in TZ. Because if these are the kind of torturers that the state has, wanasikiza gospel music, wakikutocha wamekuweka upside down na wanaweka vitu kwa nyuma ya matako. It is very wrong, bwana. That is gay. That is gay, and as the East African community, on the behalf of Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania, we want to say that is very wrong. It is very gay, and gay is not something that we allow. Hata kama mtu amekosa bwana, si, why are you gay? Why are you gay? Do anything on me, bwana, but don't touch my ass, bwana. I'm still a virgin. I'm still a virgin back there. Don't dare do that. Hata wengine ati mlikuwa mnauliza ati whether you can get consent to rape Agatha. Where did you gather the courage to do such thing? What if it was your own daughter? They say that kutalikuwa na malipo mbinguni, but I'm a firm believer. Malipo ni hapa duniani. Kama is a bish, and that bish will come and catch up with you. And kama as is catching up, you'll understand. Before you pay for your sins in heaven or hell, before you are rewarded for your action, you must also get a fair reward here in the world. The compensation here. You live by the bullet, you die by the bullet. You destroy people's asses, yours going to be destroyed at one time. And the worst part is that these people, Boniface says that they recorded all the inhumane things that they did to him. And they say that if you dare say what we did to you, we will release this video. When that video is released, will it do damage to Boni or to the Tanzanian government? If at all there's a video, let's assume there's a video and it's true. Let's assume that all that Boni said is true and that yes, it's true there's a video. Then who stands to lose? I feel it's the Tanzanian authorities that have to lose, because all the blame, all the kind of pain that this man underwent, because it's not like he was undergoing pleasure. It's not like he was undergoing pleasure. So the blame will go to the person who was doing this thing. The person who was doing this thing, whether it's the one who instructed or the person who was actually executing the order, how alikuwa anafanya. And hii idea ya kutengeneza video wakimunura mabuti, as DJ Afro would put it, kukunura mabuti. What ukunure mabuti ya mwanaume mwingine, by the way? Very bad, despicable. Anyway, one thing I know about sex tapes and sex videos and this kind of nudeness and all that kind of crap, it's used as a weapon against celebrities, especially politicians. Politicians are celebrities, because if we define celebrity, celebrity is just someone who is known, who is popular. And politicians are some of the popular people. And they are usually, they understand the kind of weapon that sex tapes hold. And it's usually the best way to ensure silence and always ensure that you have leverage against the person. And if this leak or this video leaks, then it's true that Boni was saying the truth. If it doesn't leak, by then nothing changes, because it's evident that he was mistreated in Tanzania under the instructions of Mama, and he was being forced to say, oh, sijui Mama nakuheshimu, or such kind of stuff. I don't remember. But imagine being tortured and asked to say that unapenda Mama. And I got to wonder, who really came up with this idea of a video evidence? Who came up with the idea? Must be a politician who is scared that their videos might leak online. Nafikiri kama ule mtu wako na video yake. Anyway, at the right time, the nations, the East Africa, will be united to see a tape of someone we might all want to know. And it will come. Sababu na feel yeye anajua kuna mtu wako naye against yeye, and that is the worst weapon that they know. They fear it more than even death, and they think that they would have used it against Boniface. But this era, we know that if you want to use something against us, we'll ensure that the whole world knows, so you have no leverage. Now the world knows that there's a tape. We know that there is a tape, so who has the upper hand? Is it the Tanzanian government or Boniface Mwangi? I feel Boniface Mwangi now has the upper hand, because hiyo yenye mlikuwa mna blackmail nayo tushajua ipo, na hata kama ipo sisi tunaidharau, kwa sababu hii si video ambayo itatu unite It will actually unite people against him. I really hope we can get the freedom that we need as a nation, or as the East African nation, because we have a lot to share in culture. And that Tanzania will get to the same level as Kenya. Kenya, we are aspiring further, but CZ and UG, at least mfike mahali tuko, even if sisi tunatocha bwana, hatufiki hapo kwa gay torture. We're not getting there. It's shame on those people who did that. Shame. Ngũgĩ wa Thiong'o, a legend has fallen, a Kenyan hero, a calabash of knowledge, finally bows down out of the world after 87 years of entertaining us, awakening our minds, sharpening our brains. I'm a lover of books. Literature is my first love. I first encountered Ngũgĩ wa Thiong'o as a young boy, and my first book to read was called Jambanene and the Flying Bus. Jambanene and the Flying Bus, about a boy who was going on a trip, and then basi kamea wings, and then on kumea wings, they had gone with other children who were from well-to-do families. So these children from well-to-do families had been given money to buy lunch. But the boy in the story, Jamba was given githeri by her auntie. Kapewa githeri ndio alibeba. So the bus flew into a forest, and the kids could not use the money that they had been given for pocket money. And the githeri that this kid was feeling bad about, yenye alikuwa amebeba lunch, it happened to be the only saving grace, kwa sababu yeye ndiye alikuwa na chakula in the middle of nowhere after the bus flew into a forest. Such an interesting story. I can't quite remember the whole plot. But going into high school, I did The River Between, a book that really helped me to understand and appreciate the African culture, the African heritage, the struggle against independence, and give a context to the things that were happening. It's a fiction, but inside it, a lot of rich information in regards to the pre-colonial and the pre-colonial period of Kenya. As Ngũgĩ bows out of the world, his works will continue playing a significant role. Personally, I feel Ngũgĩ has impacted me a lot, especially, I think I was in third year or second year when I read his book, Decolonizing the Mind. I had interacted with a lot of his fictional works, Weep Not Child, Tigari, Devil on the Cross, The River Between, hizo zingine pia za watoto, Jambanene and the Flying Bus, those Jambanene series. And apart from the Jambanene series, there was a series by some guy called Barbara Kimeng, Moses in Trouble, and those other series. Come on, listen, Moses in Trouble, Moses and the Man from Mars, and Mukibi's School for the Sons of African Gentlemen. I think that was the school. We can try to remind ourselves a few things about also that series. It was another series nilikuwa napenda sana ya Barbara Kimeng. But back to Ngũgĩ wa Thiong'o, and I got to interact with his non-fictional works around 2016 while I was still in campus. And one of his fictional works, Decolonizing the Mind, really changed me. It helped me question my society and a lot of things that I really believed in. There was a point in time when I felt that I would just become a priest. But even Ngũgĩ helped me question even my own religion. Because in the Catholic Church, when you're being baptized, you must be named after a saint. So they baptized me after Saint Anthony, and they baptized me Anthony Mutugi. I'm baptized in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Well, Ngũgĩ was actually called James, but he reverted from James Ngũgĩ to Ngũgĩ wa Thiong'o. The reason behind, he felt, why do I need a white man's name? And I got to wonder, what if Jesus was born in Gikuyu and he was not called Jesus? What if Kimani was his name and Kimani would mean God with us, or whatever it would mean, or maybe he would be called Kufai, and now Kufai is to mean Christ. Then he would have disciples. What would be the names of, what are some of the random names that the disciples of Jesus would be if they were Kikuyu? I'm expecting Peter to be a random, Kamau, Akihara somewhere. The two sons of Zebedee will have a Kireka and Kirago. Kireka and Kirago are now the two sons of Zebedee. Do you think if the Christian religion was to move borders, Egypt, Europe, or in the USA, do you think those Wazungus would have taken the name Kimani? I baptize you, Kimani Hongshire. I baptize you, Kimani Williams. I baptize you, Kirago Silvia. What do you think they would take such names? But we accepted such names. If I'm to be called Mutugi Wangu, is it to mean that if I'm practicing the Christianity, I will not see the kingdom of heaven because I have to be named after saints? And why are all saints? Why do they have Majina Zakuko? Got me wondering. At a point in time, maybe I'll also have to drop the name Anthony, because why follow a white man's name? Why should I be interested in a name that I actually had to Google when I'm an adult to know what its real meaning, as opposed to Mutugi, which is my cultural name? Well, Ngũgĩ wa Thiong'o's decolonizing the mind will help you question your conscience. And one thing he says is that when the imperialists came, they locked us. They divided Africa among themselves with boundaries that did not consider that we actually had nationalities of our own. We had the Gikuyu nation, we had the Luya nation, we had the Luo nation. We had Nigerians and the Yoruba, the Igbo, the Hausa. We all had our communities. Kulikuwa na Wazulu, and they even had their king, Shaka Zulu. And even the British, when they were trying to conquer the Shaka Zulu Empire, it was such a great deal. We had our lives moving on, but these people decided to confine us to their own boundaries, of which these boundaries were pegged on economic value. What is it that these people were standing to gain, and how they would exploit Africa for the economic value that it could bring to them. And yes, we might say that colonial Yenda, he left, but even after leaving, after colonizing us, despite us gaining political independence, did we actually gain independence of the mind? Because Ngũgĩ wa Thiong'o says that we are still colonized, and until the Africans decolonize their minds to understand that we do not need the Muzungu. Actually, the Muzungu needs us. But the Muzungu has twisted it in such a way that they make it seem it's as if we need them more than they do need us. That they gave us a language, they gave us a culture, like we didn't have a way of living. We actually had, like we didn't have education. Before education, people used to sit by the sides of the fire, tell stories. And through the telling of the stories, then values would be passed from one generation to another. Ngũgĩ argues that you cannot separate language and culture. Yes, you might have a language that is spoken. He gives an example of Swahili. Swahili is used as a medium of communication between two people who speak different languages. If I'm to meet with a Kisi today, we might choose to speak with, because I don't understand Kikisi. So we might choose to communicate in either English or Swahili. When the both of us are speaking in Swahili, we don't have the cultural value that the Swahili language has. But when we go back to the roots of Swahili, the coastal Kenya, coastal Tanzania, Zanzibar, where the language is spoken, then it carries the values of the people, the stories that they have, and that value will express the Swahili culture. If you go to the Agikuyu, when they are speaking Kikuyu, Kikuyu carries their culture, it carries their values, it carries their music. That's why you hear of Mwomboko. Mwomboko is only among the Gikuyu, and they can only relate, you will relate with it best if you are a Kikuyu. If it's Ngũgĩ, a genre in the Kikuyu music, it's contained in the language. You can't, huwezi toa Ngũgĩ ya Kiswahili na sound kama Ngũgĩ. It will still be missing that part. But if you are to play chakacha, if you are to play taarab in Swahili, then the cultural value of music will be emboldened in the language. Ngugi wa Thiong'o argues that Muzungu brought to us a language, a foreign language, and with that foreign language, he totally ignored the black man's culture. He ignored the values that we had, and we were taught to think in a certain way. We were taught a different language. When you go to school, you are not taught in your local language. You are not taught in Kikamba. You are taught in a foreign language. And so the first step of knowledge is acquiring language. You first acquire the white man's language, then from that language you will be taught, it will be the mode of instruction for all these things that you will learn in your school life. All these things that you will learn are being taught in the white man's language. You forget your language that you were taught or you learned naturally, and you are always behind. Let's look at China. Watoto wakienda class, do they start learning the Chinese language just like we start teaching the English language in Africa? The English themselves, this is their first language. So mtoto mzungu akienda pale haendi kufunzwa ati tichane mwari moche ya negete. That's not what they are going to learn. They already know that, so they are going to acquire a different type of knowledge. But see where we start, just because of language barrier. Apart from that, he believes that the white man stole from Africa. In 1962, there was a conference on not African writers, they actually said, yes, African writers who wrote in English. So the issue was not actually writers from Africa, but writers who used English as their medium of communication. So the likes of Ngũgĩ, Chinua Achebe, Woye Soyinka were there in that conference at Makerere. As they were attending this conference, there were other writers who were forgotten. Shaban bin Robert, forgotten, among other writers who were writing in different languages. For example, the Swahili language, the ones who are thriving in writing Swahili language like Shaban Robert, were being left behind. And the reason behind, they were not writing in English. Well, this literally works that the likes of Ngugi wa Thiong'o, Chinua Achebe, Woye Soyinka contributed were actually recognized as part of English literature. If they were written in French from the French countries, they would be recognized as part of French literature. But Ngũgĩ says that these are not English literature. They would be called maybe writings from the Afro-English writers, but they are African literature. However, he says for him to communicate directly to someone, it's best to use their language, because the language will carry the values, it will carry the mental picture. If you had something like Imo, the kind of mental picture that you created of this ogre, or whatever it is, let's call it an ogre or a giant. Whatever mental picture that this child created will resonate best with them than when you tell them maybe a giant or an ogre, because they are trying to find the equivalent. And every time you translate, there's always a loss in meaning. And we have been put in such a bad position that even after colonialism, English stood as a measure of intelligence. How well you speak the Queen's language, how fluent you are in English, even to date, might determine how people think, how people think of how smart you are. But actually, how fluent you are with a foreign language does not necessarily mean that, it does not necessarily equate to how knowledgeable you are or how smart you are. There are people who tulikuwa tunasoma na wao. This guy is not good at English, nor is he good at Swahili, good at chemistry, good at understanding these other things. But you feel if this person was understanding this thing in Kikamba, it would be much easier for them. If he was being taught this thing in Swahili, it would be much easier for them. And you can imagine the kind of brains that we've lost to language barrier. So many mechanics would have become engineers. Lakini ni kwa sababu huyu mtu wako elezewa kitu na Kijaluo. He is the best mechanic. Kogorogona, kuna mechanic ingine kama Otis. Hakuna, tunaweza pata. Otis alifika class 8. But because mechanical concepts were being explained in English, or they are put in English na hatujaiweka Kijaluo, we could not get the best out of this guy. Actually, Ngugi wa Thiong'o says that there was a student who he felt was better than him, but because he had the language, he was better in the language, English language, he actually went to further his studies. The boy, the other guy could not further his studies, and he ended up becoming a mechanic or something. Gets to wonder, so what is the value of language in a culture? Ngugi wa Thiong'o says that the moment you speak the language of the white man, you lose the culture. The moment you start valuing the language of the white man, you start losing the very essence of the whole being that is relayed in you through your own language, your first language. Ngugi wa Thiong'o, a renowned writer, did not get to learn of his writing talents until he was at an independent school where they were being taught in Gikuyu. Well, he started at a missionary school where the language of instruction was English, then from a missionary school to an independent school. But in the 1950s, when there was a state of emergency, that was I think 1955, 1956, a state of emergency was declared. The independent schools were closed, and they were later put under the colonial rule, this time not to teach in Gikuyu or these other local languages, but the method of instruction to be in English. What ended up becoming of them, they were run by the zile zilikuwa zinaitwa DEB, zilikuwa zinaraniwa na Kanjo. So they became the DEB schools. And he says that it was not until he won an award while at the independent school for writing a Gikuyu essay or composition, that is when he got to learn of his writing skills. And actually much later, from 1986, he reverted back to fully writing in Gikuyu. He would write a lot of text in Gikuyu, and most people felt he was betraying the English. But who was betraying who? His first language is English. But these people, they feel that if he writes a novel in Gikuyu, he's actually betraying them. Who is betraying who? Because ain't he supposed to give back to society? Doesn't he deserve to write back to his society? He says for him to speak to the average person, the peasant in Kikuyu, it would be best to use that language. And as long as these people, the imperialists, continue killing our language, then they will continue dominating us. And actually, look at us right now. Millennials, wale mko na watoto. or even the Gen Z, how many take pride in seeing that their children are speaking their mother tongue? Mtoto wako anaongea fluent Kikuyu, fluent Luo. Right now ni, hey, Jaden anaenda international school. She can speak in, anaongeanga tu English peke yake. Zawadi, anaongeanga tu English peke yake, hata ajui Kiswahili. That's not something to be proud of. You should actually allow them to know their language, because from learning their language, they will learn their culture. You cannot separate culture from language. And once they learn their language and are able to get more about their culture, then it's easy for them not, they are not going to lose their identity. We look at countries that got English as their language, the colonial master's language. And we Kenyans really tried to do well with the English language. A little accents here and there when a Kamba speaks. You know, I am going there. It's a Kamba. You can feel the accent, but what are we going to say? He's speaking in English. You can try to relate to what he's speaking, or the regular Gikuyu will come and tell you. There is a business opportunity. Mr. Opportunities will continue calling opportunity because it's opportunity anyway. And they are Kikuyu, and what can we do about it? Luos will continue speaking English with their pride and trying to put some Luo words here and there. And it will always feel good when you hear English coming with that deep Luo accent. I'm going to finish. It sounds good. Indians, also colonized by the British, they also have their own way of speaking English. You can tell it's English, but they have an accent. What are you doing? You can always feel, huyu ni Muhindi lakini bado anaongea Kizungu. You'll always communicate. You can get the accent. Same with people from South Africa. You can always feel the heavy influence of the Zulu, of the Shona languages, the Khoisan languages. You can always feel. But I feel if there are people who actually did good to the English language, they are Nigerians. English was okay after receiving insults from the random Kikuyu, the random Kamba from Kenya, being spoken with an accent, an heavy accent from the Zulu in South Africa, whichever accent is it, or even the Ugandans who speak their language the way they wish to. We totally understand them and we can totally get to fluently understand what they mean. But when English landed in Nigeria, even English itself did not believe what happened to it. Nigerians took English, changed English to, I would not even call it a pidgin. They decided that from today, this is what this word means. No. We are going to change it. If it's eat food, eat rice, they say no. You go chop rice. I want to chop rice. So chop is to cut in English. But when chop got to Nigeria, it became eat. Chop rice, chop money. I go chop my money. I go come. They could not say I will come, even with an accent. I will come. No, I go come. These are people who will just tell you, no wahala, just to mean no problem. Wahala day, there's a problem here. I dey come, I'll come back. I dey run, I dey go. Whatever happened to English when it got to Nigeria is what needs to happen to English everywhere, because I feel Nigerians ripped English, they ripped it apart and did whatever they could with it and made their own language, a Nigerian pidgin language that you can never get it. Hey, Nigerians, you want to mean that when you say you too much, you're not trying to mean that I'm just way past, or I'm doing something in a way that is just too much. You mean you are too kind. Just change the language. And due to that fact that they changed that language to their pidgin, because I understand that Nigeria has houses of 500 different cultures or languages. And because these people had to speak among themselves, they decided to use English, but they ripped it. They ripped it apart, changed it to their own convenience. And with that, with their own pidgin, they've been able to they've been able to express their culture better than any other African country to the world. Right now, Nigerian music is topping the charts. Burna Boy sings with his Nigerian pidgin. Ataimba tu na hiyo Nigerian pidgin and people will listen. Davido, name them all the superstars that we can name about Nigeria. In the movie world, their Nigerian movies started promoting that pidgin. And look at where they are. They've actually promoted their culture because they decided to speak the language the way they find it to their own convenience. But sisi hapa Kenya, we are here trying to change the spelling, trying to look at the pronunciation, trying to ensure that we speak it according to the Queen's language. We have adapted a culture that is not ours, forgotten our identity, and because we've forgotten our identities, then we don't have something to be proud about, we don't have something to look forward about, we don't understand our culture, we don't understand our language. And after we lost our language, then we also lost it at education. Ngũgĩ was explaining how speaking in English was mandatory and how they used to have these monitors. In Kenya, kama you went to a Kenyan school where, especially group of polling stations, even most of the private schools had that problem. Yeah, you'd get a monitor. If you speak in another language, unapea mwenzako because you're supposed to speak in English. Well, the person who had the monitor the last would stand in front, then say who gave it to them, and the chain would follow back until the very last person who had it. Then these people would be punished for speaking in their mother tongue. Imagine being punished for speaking your first language, expressing yourself in the language that you know best. You know, when you don't have the right words to express yourself, you will find yourself crying. And even before you cry, you might find yourself speaking in your mother tongue. Because that is the language that you understand the best, that you can express yourself in the best way possible. So these people are punished for not speaking in the white man's language. Then education stops becoming an issue of a learning process, but rather a reward mechanism where you come to know that if you snitch people, you will be rewarded. Then you are producing a type of people who don't think for themselves, but they are out here to work, to understand instructions, because the purpose of learning English language was to understand what they are being told. So you're just creating a workforce that is supposed to understand and not to critically analyze. Because if you wanted people to understand, you would teach them in their local language. Go to one or ask yourself, why is it that the Bible is locally available in all languages, but when it comes to educational materials, we can't translate knowledge to the local language to help children understand it better? And it is easier kufunga mtu na ile language anaelewa vizuri. English is not a measure of intelligence. You can speak good English, but that does not necessarily mean that your IQ or EQ is better than that average Kisii guy who only understands Kisii. Maybe angekuwa anafunzwa na Kisii, angekuwa mbele sana. But language created a very wrong advantage. And Ngugi wa Thiong'o has erased. He asks, have we decolonized our mind? Have we gotten out of that mind that the white man's things or the white man's product, the white man's language is superior to our very own? Because all those years since the colonialists came to Kenya and we started speaking English, then we would expect that the languages would be extinct. But Geko is still being spoken, Kamba is still being spoken, the Luo is being spoken. While the language aspect of it has not been has not moved with much pace as we would have wanted to. It's still not lost its value. We feel that a lot, actually Ngugi, let me not say we, but Ngugi feels a lot can be done to put the culture, or to use the language to put culture into its rightful place. And he actually goes ahead to celebrate the local writers, Dr. Michere Mogo, one of the Kikuyu writers that he celebrated, Shaban Robert, Okot Pabitek, also used to write in the Luo. And given a chance, there are so many writers who can express themselves in their local languages so well that they would be maybe we would have a Shakespeare, a Luo Shakespeare, would have a George Shaw, a Charles Dickens from Njikenda. But because they were denied that chance to express themselves in the language they understood the best, then the African language still misses that valuable part. As we continue to decolonize our mind and try to move away from the imperialist thinking, of which I feel it's something that the Gen Z are really advocating for with the kind of movement that is coming along and the economic empowerment that I'm seeing is actually coming and will change the tide and the way that people think. I feel that local languages still need to play a major role. I look forward to the day I can have a Kamba podcast the whole day in Kikamba and not worry that I'm confining myself to a certain type of audience. Ain't it possible? It is. Let's decolonize our minds first. Then we'll see the true value in our African nature. What we can give to the world and not what the world is giving us. Because we've been put in at this point where we are made to believe that everything from Africa is bad. No. We had our religion before these people came. And is it supposed to mean that before Christianity, wale walikuwa before Christianity, that they didn't go to heaven? We didn't believe in good and bad. We had a religion, we had languages of our own, and there is no way that the English language is superior to any African language. There is no language that is superior to the other. They all have the same characteristics. They are all used for the same purpose. And we are losing behind because we lost our language. Chinese didn't lose their language. That's why they are way, way ahead of their time. And if they didn't lose their language, they are able to keep their culture intact and able to pass information more easily. And like us, who we still have to start learning about a foreign language in class. And then the whole experience of learning stops being about reading or an emotional experience. It stops being an experience, but rather cramming or trying to retain information, which made education a painful affair. And actually, most of the people who would question the status quo when they were young, walikuwa wanatoka shule. And actually, most of the minds that decided to quit school the early ages, you would find the bright people, because they would feel, why am I wasting my time here learning the things that I'm not supposed to? Because education had lost its value. Can we go back to a point where, as a people, we try to use our local languages as the mode of instruction? Yes, I would really look forward to that. I feel it's possible. Kama wa Chinese wanafunza na Ki-Chinese, why can't we teach engineering in Kikuyu? Why can't medicine be taught in the Luo? Why? And it's possible. If we translated the Bible, what is it that we can't translate and give it to that instruction? And maybe just have one language like Swahili as our international or national language that helps us communicate with other tribes. Because I feel language is the greatest hindrance to education and to helping people achieve their full potential. Sio kila kitu lazima uelezewe na Kizungu. Ukielezewa na Kiswahili nyingine utaelewa. Ukielezewa na language ya kwenyu, it will be easier for you to understand. Continue resting in peace, Ngugi. You've really done a lot to help shape the minds of the people. And actually, these Gen Zs and millennials uprising can directly be associated to the people who read books like The River Between. Which other books? Weep Not Child. Guy Kadeda, yes, I Will Marry When I Want. These are books that have helped in the literature. And being a beneficiary of the 844, most of us lie in that period. And then we had books like Kifo Kisimani, Kireka Waberia, Mshtaiki Mea. These are books that have really helped to shape the thought process that most of the millennials and the Gen Zs have. And that movement can actually be attributed to these people. Is it possible that we also change our language of instruction? We stop teaching in English and teach people in Kikisi. Tufunze watu chemistry na Kikisi, itaingia kweli, itaingia tu. I feel we can do better in our own languages than in the white man's language. English is not a measure of intelligence. There are so many people who I know who are smarter than me. But just because I'm more eloquent, people will think that I'm smarter than them. But that's not the case. Kuna mathematician ako pale akona a very deep Kikuyu accent, but he would contribute a lot when it comes to maths than any other average person, just because this other person can speak English well. I really hope and I really look forward to a time when all subjects can be taught in the language or the L1, the first language of a learner, the mother tongue. We would get more value from those people. I mean, if we have Chinese wanafunzwa na hiyo language yao, English people wanafunzwa na language yao, we have Italians, Portuguese doctors who are taught purely in Portuguese. Why can't we have a Somali guy who has been taught how to run business in pure Somali? Pure Somali. Ain't it possible? But we've been taught that our language is inferior and we have to teach ourselves a different language so that we can be able to work. So the critical thinkers, the people who are bored by repetitive jobs, feel that they do not have their rightful place in the education system. And you'll always wonder why the A student is working for the C student, because the C student was a critical thinker and they were feeling that, you are wasting my time when I'm here in school, I should be making money out there. But because the A student is able to retain information so well, then he's more of an obedient worker and not a critical thinker. He does not use his brain to bring together whatever resources he has and maybe make an entrepreneurship out of it. But he's the best worker. That's why the A student will always work for the C student. That status quo would change if we were taught in the local language, because maybe the C student, if all these concepts that were being input in him in their local language, maybe they would understand them better. Maybe then they would thrive and get an A at whatever they are doing. Rest in peace, Ngugi. Your works will still continue bringing changes in our society and being a pioneer of books and the literature world. We thank having such people ahead of us, because you created a way, you created an awakening, you suffered for your thoughts. Exile, ulichapwa exile. Sisi exile yenye tunaweza relate ni ile back in campus, we used to have an exile where roommate anakupiga exile juu dem yake anakukuja. But Ngugi wa Thiong'o knows what it is to be exiled just because you wrote something, just because you wanted to present a play. And also a challenge in the drama space of Kenya. Ngugi was among the first people to set up an open field theater stage. But that did not get to happen. It was actually the time he wanted to do the play, Gahikia Deda, I Will Marry When I Want. And it got him out. It led him to go to exile. And as he was going to exile, mambo ya drama, it went chini, and maybe that's why you find that we do not have many theaters or places where drama can be hosted. And the drama is really important. It's like music. You can never... Drama and music play almost a similar role in society. And the drama clubs need to be there. Theaters need to be there for people to stage their plays. But I feel like creatives, but you should invest, because if Ngũgĩ was ready to invest in an open shelter, what more can we do? I heard Kinabel Mutua saying that Sarit Center could only hold 6,000 people because we do not have an auditorium meant for stage plays or for any performing acts. Can we have a place that holds 10,000 people for performing acts? Ngũgĩ would have felt that we should have done better. He tried it. He was among the pioneers. We can take it up and do better. And I hope at that time we can call it the Ngugi wa Thiong'o Theatre. Naikwe somewhere there in Limuru, Kamiridu village, somewhere there. Have a theatre. If you have a financial muscle, si ukasirike in honor of Ngugi wa Thiong'o. It would really do good to a whole industry, wouldn't it? Rest in peace, Ngũgĩ Maze. Thank you for changing us. The movement that we're witnessing in Kenya, a lot of it can be attributed to people like you who wrote, and through their works, you are able to bring that energy, that consciousness, that awokeness that we are currently witnessing today. I really hope that in the next generation, even as you are resting, you'll be happy of the kind of wokeness that you brought to the African child. Too much to talk, too much to say, but I would like to stop at that. Thank you once again for tuning in to Tony's Pod, where we tell the Kenyan story as it is. My name has been Anthony Mutugi. If this episode sparked your thoughts, you enjoyed it, maybe you can share it to someone else who might need to listen to it. And until next time, keep questioning, keep caring, and keep the conversation going. Goodbye.